Hey everyone, Angela O'Hare here, your favorite Las Vegas realtor.
Yay! What's up,
And
Rob
we're on
Howe?
time. Rob Howe.
Yeah, Rob Howe, Rockstar Realtor. Woo! I'm the realtor. You're the rock star.
Yay, we got our technology. We're going to get better as we go along with this whole technology going live thing. You know what? I haven't probably seen you in a couple of months now since we've been doing these live things.
That's true. In person.
We need to do an in-person one live, with us together instead of doing separate rooms.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
to
We have
say
to.
hi.
Yeah, we have to mix it up. Otherwise, it's super 2020 of
Oh,
us.
yeah,
That's so
2021.
2020.
Well, welcome everyone. And today we are going to be doing our monthly market update. And in this issue, we will be going over September 2021 numbers. And I'm sure you guys have already seen everywhere in the RJ what's going on with the Las Vegas market. But I wanted to bring this up that we have been going consistently since January of 2020. Our numbers have bam, 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 keep on going up. With that said, we've had over 100,000 increase in median price since January 2020.
What?
That's a
What?
33% increase in median price in a year and a half.
Mm. Is this real life? Are we really talking about
In
that
a
kind of an
typical
increase?
market, what were we seeing? An average of 10% maybe year over year?
No, less than that. Like in a traditionally, you'd see. I mean, it was always kind of spoken about traditionally 4 to 5%.
Yeah, but I've noticed since I've been in real estate every year, it's been at least
Well,
10 plus.
yes, okay. Since late 2011, 2012, because we had it, basically we overcorrected. We went way, way, way down, and then now, so yes, every year has been on average more than your traditional times, but traditionally we're gonna go up about 4 to 5%. That's what you're hoping to see, and that's actually what a lot of people would like to see, is us get, even out of this big boom, to continue to see some gains each year. What people don't want to see is nothing, or the opposite of nothing, which would be minus,
Right.
right?
Someone had mentioned to me that the Las Vegas market is cyclical, and I think any market is cyclical, meaning that in the 10-year span, you keep on going up, and eventually you can't just sustain that.
Well, yeah, I gotta say, that's an easy thing to say. It's cyclical. Okay, what's the
That's all
cycle?
markets.
What's the cycle though? And knowing what that cycle is the trick. But I do understand what they're saying. What goes up is probably going to come down. Real estate has a much slower movement, and the one time in our lifetime that we know it actually moved a lot was obviously when we had a downturn. And then of the upturn prior to that, the upturns are actually more frequent. The
Right.
downturns are, especially drastic ones, are far less frequent.
So in the description, I said, is the Las Vegas real estate market busting? Is the bubble going to burst? And so we're going to go over the numbers, and then in between the numbers, Rob and I are going to dissect it and tell you our thoughts of what we feel is going on with the market.
This is me dissecting. Whatever that is. Whatever that is. All right.
Someone asked if I was looking for an assistant. I do have an assistant, Leo. However, I am looking for a showing assistant because I just can't be in 10 places at once. So I need help. Know anybody that can fit the bill? If you know anyone out there, I need a showing assistant. You'd be paid hourly, yada, yada. But let's get into the numbers and not talk about what I need, right?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So,
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
you ready,
Yeah.
sir? So this Las Vegas market has been cray-cray for the last year and a half, and it has actually made it quite unaffordable for local residents.
Mm-hmm.
But
Unless you bought at the right time and you got a bunch of equity, you are correct, Ange.
right. But We are now seeing, or what I'm seeing is seasonal trends, your typical seasonal trends happening now in the Las Vegas market.
Yep. There's still a little bit, and then we're going to talk about this. There's still a little bit of a funkiness still left in there. I'm going to call it the funkiness because we still have these strange movements that kind of are perking up and surprising us because we haven't gone fully where we're back to normal, so to speak.
Right.
But yeah, should we talk about that right now? How we were wrong?
Well, let's yeah. So
are you ready to admit that, Ange?
Right. And I don't like to be wrong. So last month, Rob and I kind of had, hold on one second. Be quiet. If I tell him once, then maybe twice they'll be quiet. But Rob and I last month market update had predicted that the median price was going to drop by 5,000 because for 2 months in a row it had maintained 405. However, the median price did not drop to 5,000. It actually increased by 1,500.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little unsure when we made that. I was like, yeah. If I was going to guess, I did think it was going to go down. But this is where we have some things that we were not able to see at the time, which is that there's still a bit of a rush to get into a home before the holidays. It's happening. That's actually a traditional rush in a way. That happens normally. People are like, okay, let's get in and get settled before we have all these big things going on in our lives for, a number of reasons. So kind of didn't see that little surge coming. And really to be 0.4% off, I mean, technically we were 6,500 off because we said it might drop by 5,000.
Right.
So we were off because it went up. Yeah, hey, I can say I actually think this might be the first time we were like for sure we were off.
Right. Well, with that said, so basically it went from 405,000 to 406,500 with only a 0.4% increase. And also, if you want to compare it against year over year, it's a 20.5% increase in median price from last September.
So I have one other thing to add to what this surge is about. And I think it's because people are getting in and able to just do with their offer what they need to do without having to go in and add money above appraisal and things. So they're happy to pay a little bit more in their mortgage, but not have to come out cash out of pocket. So that's what I think you're seeing is those people have been waiting on the sidelines and now they see their chance. They don't have to pay above appraisal, but they still have to offer a strong offer, which typically means above list for those really good properties. So that's what I think this surge has been about, along with the that pressure to get into a property before the holidays. There is my assessment that I completely missed. Hey, I don't know.
So there were 3,209 single family houses that sold in September, making this flat from August, but actually down 1.9% year over year. So what I'm finding, these numbers are actually, we are down against last year, same time last year.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, this is the evidence that we've been looking at to say, okay, so we're going to start seeing changes, and we have seen them. We've seen them, but it's still like it's going in fits and starts right now, right? So there's a little bit of, and I think that's the evidence right there. That continued evidence of, just a little bit less activity, but what it is that we still have a pretty low inventory overall. So.
Exactly. We still have a very low inventory, but this to me is kind of resembling January 2020, when I've always mentioned this before, that we were slated in January 2020 to have a actual banner year. And then we took a break back in March through June. But then once the restrictions were lifted, I mean, people were buying left and right.
Yep. It's yeah, well, a lot of new perspectives were had, weren't they?
Yeah.
So I think that's what's the hard prediction is what's next, what's going to happen in January 2022. Because you just mentioned 2020, 2021. Well, those, we knew what was going to take place, or we thought we did.
Right.
And until the pandemic hit, we did know what we were looking at. So there was naturally going to be a strong year. And then we suddenly had these new perspectives come to play. Will that continue? Will that, where people are still deciding that they need to make a change, and in mass, like they have been and will we have more inventory? Will that change too? Will people leave Las Vegas? Because that would create more inventory.
True.
But I don't see it. I don't see it, Ange.
Well, I've noticed in a lot of my clients, I get a lot of interests from out of state, especially California, and a lot of them just bought a home back in California because our prices are pretty much now competitive to California pricing in certain areas of
Right.
California.
More inland, sure.
Right. And I think you got to think of what was the reasons besides, selling your home and buying cheaper real estate, why you wanted to get out of the state. One, lower property taxes. Our property taxes are half, if not 3 times lower. And then also no state income tax.
Yeah. So those things haven't changed. And also, I think some of the other pressures that have, the other elephant in the room, there's a lot of political and,
That as well.
yeah, you could call it political. Some people just prefer to call it craziness. And that has continued. That is still going on. If you're still there, you are happy that those things are happening and you're not concerned about them at all. That's for the most part.
Right.
So I think the big movements have happened in those areas. There will still be people that go, wait, they did what? Oh, that's the last straw. I'm out.
And those markets are still pretty hot in California. My clients are selling in days and getting multiple offers, and it's still a very hot market in California.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's been the astonishing thing, is that you would think that all this movement would mean that somewhere they're getting, they're emptying out. Right. And you're having listings. I do believe that we will see this. I think this has been, we have seen the trend that state to state that the things are changing, and there are differing. It felt like it was blanketed across the country, and even in like rural areas and areas that typically would have slower markets, that they were seeing their upticks. I think we're going to start seeing that it becomes more localized and specialized to those areas as far as what is going on in those areas. It's already happening. We're going to see it more and more.
Yeah, makes sense. I agree with you 100%. So let's get back to the numbers. And of course, we like to do a little shout out to the luxury market. So last month, there were 119 homes over $1 million. And the month before was 112. So we had a 7 home increase in sales for the luxury market. Now, here's the thing. Once those $1 million homes, when the market starts to go down a little, then those $1 million homes are going to be the $100,000 homes. So they're going to, the luxury market numbers are going to change.
Yeah. It will. I think that's going to take a little while. We'll have to see how that all transpires, but that would be an indication, certainly, of that we've lost some steam and maybe even reversed course to some degree.
Well, every month, slowly but surely, the median price in the luxury market keeps on going down. Last month, it was at 1.3 mil. This month is at 1.275 mil. So it's a $25,000 decrease in median price in the luxury market. But I think we're going to keep on seeing that unless we have super $25 million homes selling.
Yeah, I agree. I think that huge thrust in the luxury market, you probably start to see that peel off a little bit. And also because I think same thing that happens in the lower ranges is that, some of these sellers are doing what's called make me move pricing.
Right.
And it's like, okay, you hit my number and I'll move. Otherwise, I just got it on the market and I'm seeing what happens. And I don't have to move. I can move. I don't have to, but you pay me and I'll move. That's, that certainly happens. And I see that in the luxury market.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because luxury market tends to stay longer on the market than most traditional homes do.
And that would be definitely a trend that would signal we're getting back to, a little bit more normal times. Still strong, still very strong in that market.
Right. I had a client that was, we were looking at one Queensbridge place, which is those tower condos. The HOA there was like $24,000 a month.
24,000. Well, what was that
or was
for?
it 2,400? No.
Yeah, 24. It should be 2,400 if I recall. I know it's expensive.
Yeah, but still.
I was like
That's
24,000. Yeah.
mortgage payment.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's extremely expensive. One thing about that, it is very opulent. And I don't want to say anything bad about it per se, but because I don't think badly about it. I think that's expensive, but for the right people, they love it. And one thing that everywhere you go, if you notice, every wall, ceiling, they've got a texture, they've got something on everything in there. Did you notice that?
I've never been in there.
No? Okay, so yeah, when you go into even like they're, going to the elevator or through the lobby or anything, it's just tons and tons of money. It's just like throwing dollar bills on the wall is what I call it. They just textured, they tiled, they Italian texturing, all this stuff is all over the place. And, the only thing about it that is a interesting issue I think that building has is that it was all done in about 2005, 2006, if I recall correctly. And those stylings were from then.
Right.
So it was very opulent for its time, but clearly that was when we were like, whoa, for that time. Yeah, it was like really popping at that time. So now you've got all this, what at the time was extremely expensive, but it's, it's 15 years old now, right? 16 years old, going on 17. So, yeah, that's the only thing I see. And some of the even the amenities, some of them, they're going to have to, I think they started working on them. Yeah. Because some of those things just don't get used like they were really cool in 05, 06.
Right. Well, a lot of people still like that whole ornate decor and like that traditional look.
Yeah, I just see it as, an interesting, it's changing of the guard, if you will, for modern versus what that was at the time.
Right. All right. So for September, we had a total of 3,689 new listings, which was actually down 7.4% from August and down 4.2% from the prior year. So that means that we're still very anemic when it comes to a number of listings being listed on the market.
Yeah, we still have this, the underlying reason for our market going up in place. Right. It's waning ever so slowly. So I think it's mostly because most of the people that do put it on their property on market, they have every intention to sell at the highest price they can, and that's what they want to do. But then you have some of those, the junkers that they want too much for, or those, make me move listers.
Right. So then there was a total of 3,463 single-family homes listed without offers. The month before, that number was 3,256. So that number is slowly, every month, keeps on creeping and creeping up, which puts us up 6.4% from August and down actually 27.8% from the previous year. But that number, I remember at one point in time, a couple of months ago, it was at what, 1,600?
Yeah. We've basically more than doubled. So that's going to continue. That is our marker down. That is the thing to watch. The inventory and what happens with it is going to tell us everything that we need to know about where the market is going.
So basically, to surmise, is that we're not getting as many listings as we've had, and those listings that are going to the market aren't selling as fast. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why they're staying on the market longer, right?
Yep. Yep.
Is that how you would surmise that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some messages take a while for sellers to get, for example, that the market has changed even just enough to say, well, you might not get, you know, 5 offers, you might get 3 or
Right.
whatever. You know what I mean? It's just ever so slightly. And you really got to have, I still believe that, strong stay strong. So if you have a beautiful property in a great location and it's priced right, don't sell like that. You're going to get lots of offers.
Yep.
If you take anything away from those parameters, and you now have something that you're going to get lessening, or your diminished return, but it's minor diminished returns. It's very, very minor, and you really just have to look at it as it's all gravy. Because I mean, you just at the top of the hour you said 100 grand median home price. I mean, what are we doing? If you really are interested in selling, you have no problems. You have no worries for the most part. You've done very well if you bought, in 2 years ago, whatever. You're swell.
Well, I think if you're a seller, now's the time. When we've done videos on this, is how to sell your home or whatever. It's
Hmm.
not going to sell like back in April and May and January,
Right.
where it listed and it was going like hotcakes, regardless of the condition of the home, because people were just buying to buy.
Hmm.
Now you're going to have to put traditional work that you would have to when you're
Yeah,
listing your home.
you got to be competitive. You got to compete a little bit more.
Clean
And
house, move-in
yeah,
ready.
yeah, that's for sure. You're starting to see more of the buyers that were staying on the sidelines filter in, and those people have a more they're just, the reason why they stayed on the sidelines is because they didn't want to put up what was happening, and they're just going to be more discerning about what they're doing, which means they might be more, they're first of all, of course, more picky, but they might ask for more things. They might require, the more to for them to be satisfied
Right.
with their purchase.
Yeah, and not waiving, like you said, not waiving the appraisal contingencies.
Hmm.
Prime example of how, the market's up and down, but I have clients that are looking for a single story, 3-bedroom house with a pool, with 3-car garage, and those are high demand homes.
Hmm.
So, we've been putting in offers, going over asking price. Luckily, they're cash, but still, it's still there, but it's not like it was a few months back.
Yeah, for sure. And sounds like they'll hit their mark, but those properties are still, they're just still going to be. I mean, when you add the pool in alone, how many of them are coming up on their list, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, then you throw in the 3-car garage, then it filters down to this many more.
Right.
So yeah, when you're looking at that, you're still talking about an inventory shortage. And those, again, great location, single story, 3-car garage, pool, four bedroom plus.
Right.
You're hitting all the marks. What you're looking for, you're going to have to still be competitive with your offer. And then as you filter off of that, that's where people can have a little bit more negotiation power as a buyer.
Yep. Okay, so which brings us to the housing supply in Southern Nevada. We are now currently at 1.1 months. Last month it was at 1 month. So we're slowly ticking up in our housing supply, which is up 6.4% from August, but down 26.5% from last year.
Yep. Well, all more tail of the tape. These are the numbers to keep watching. And
Yep.
again, 1.1 is very still. I mean, it's still very low.
Yeah. Very, very low. I mean, we've been in a seller's market for the last 10 years,
Yep.
at least.
Basically, yep. I mean, there's been more, maybe certainly more equality through those 10 years, but
Right.
we're still actually very on the pin to the extreme side of the seller's market.
Yeah, very extreme. I mean, for a long time, it was always averaging 2.1 and 3, between 2 and 3 months. And that was the max. I've never seen it more than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that will also be a tale of the tape is how much how many buyers there are, really. I mean, are we at a point where we've reached where we still keep clicking along, so to speak, is because the people that can afford what's there, even though there's a smaller pool of them, there's enough of them. But as the inventory sort of grows each month, and will we stay around about the same amount of people that can still buy? This will create a new pressure that will go the opposite way. And that is something that I am taking a good look at. I'm not quite making a pinpoint prediction on it, but you can see where I'm going with that.
Well, I think the people that were on the sidelines, which I have quite a handful of them, are ready to start playing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're going to get in, but will you see a similar increase in what the buyer I keep wanting to say pressure, but that's not what I mean. Buyer pool, let's just say buyer pool,
right?
The people that are looking for homes versus what happens with inventory. If basically each month we stay about the same as far as what we have for amount of buyers that are looking for properties, and that inventory keeps going up, then we've really changed our market.
Right.
And that may happen in real estate terms pretty quickly. It's just I'm not really ready to say that's going to happen, because I want to see how we enter next year. I want to see how we enter into spring, because if we now have some new metrics coming into the market, new information that says we're going to have this buyer surge again like we would in spring, well, then you can't say that we're going to have any kind of issue. Right. So,
right. Yeah, I think, all tells are telling me that we are heading, like I said in the beginning of this broadcast, heading towards a traditional season, where I think come spring, we're going to be super busy again.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I'm not ready to say one way or the other just yet. I
not ready to commit, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I want to see how the next couple months goes, and really as we turn into the next year. So,
right.
It's kind of it's a little bit of a coin flip in my mind. That's why I'm not able to say that.
Yeah, and speaking of the downturn, and I always like to talk about new construction just because I sell a lot of new construction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I wonder if these builders are trying to just get rid of a lot of the lots to make it for the year, the fourth quarter, the end of year selling. But, in the past, you had the multiple bidding wars, the lot premium bidding wars, the wait list. And I'm seeing tons of builders, especially in Summerlin, where they're releasing lots very frequently. Some of them haven't even had price increases in a month, where in the past, every price release, they were having a price increase.
Every 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're hitting on something, and there are, builders have different pressures as well. And they have market pressures that are outside of the real estate market, because they're on the stock market and things like that, or they have,
right.
Stockholders and whatnot. And I'm not going to pretend I know all about that, but I know enough about it to know that what you said is probably very true. The fourth quarter, they want to get those numbers. They want to continue to show their portfolios, or whatever you would call them, that we're still moving these numbers. And that's how they want that to continue to go. And you could say it's sort of being propped up in a way, but I think they've generally been desperate to make sure they keep those numbers up. Somewhere along the line, though, if they release too much, they're going to not be able to do that.
Yeah, because Acadia Ridge has been releasing lots consistently. Pulte at Carmel Cliff has been releasing lots consistently. And it's funny because their lot premiums, especially Carmel Cliff, is it's crazy. 400,000, 500,000, depending on where it's at.
Right.
A lot of people say Summerlin. I'm reading some of these comments, and we'll get into these comments after we're done with our
Good
numbers. But for me, is that Summerlin's expensive, and it'll be very hard to find anything nice 500 and under. What do you
Mhm.
think?
Oh
New
yeah,
construction, you can forget about it unless you want to buy a
yeah,
townhome or a
right,
condo in Summerlin. Everything else is very expensive.
yeah. It's for sure. Summerlin,
Stop
anything.
moving around.
Sorry, 500. I got a little itch on my head that I didn't want to. All right. Yeah, Summerlin, 500 and below, it can be tough to find, and that will. I mean, the strong is going to stay strong.
Right.
That's that Summerlin has withstood the test of time, and that's going to continue. So, just if you're looking for a nice home in Summerlin, you got to be able to come in with some, some gusto, some paper.
Mhm. Let alone the lot premiums alone tend to be the highest in anywhere in the valley.
Yeah, yeah. I'm. I mean, you're gonna see some of that wane. That they're really gonna bet on the spring. Like what you're
Right.
saying, they're betting on spring. They're gonna push their numbers hopefully to get for the final quarter, and then you could probably think that they would expect, all right, we might have a slow turn to the year, but we're gonna bet on spring, and
Right.
there you go. That's what I
Yeah.
think they'll be doing.
It's just crazy how many builders there are, how much new constructions there are. I mean, there's still new constructions planned out for like Sunstone community. It's just crazy how much new construction there is in the valley.
Yeah, well, to me, it's all been par for the course. Of course, being here all my life, there's new construction has been going on my entire life, even long
Right.
before I was in real estate. Um, and even in the worst of times, they were building. They were still building property, not as much,
Right.
um, but they were building it. And so, it's not surprising. Vegas has an interesting um, marker down coming ahead, and that is the point where just by the availability of land, that building at that rate cannot continue. So
Right.
what happens then, and how long does it take before we hit that? I think a lot of people coming here have looked at that and said, this tells me that this is why I'm not going to worry about buying here. If my plan is to be here for X number of years, that I think that in that time we're basically going to be close to filling up the darn valley. That's what happened in like San Francisco. Of course, San Francisco has much different pressures in that area, I should say, in that um, they have much different economics than we've had here,
Right.
but we've been changing, and a lot of things have been happening economically here that are good for good. So that'll be an
Well,
interesting time.
they're all going to move. We're going to go all the way, reach to over the hump in Pahrump. We're going to reach to Mesquite and
Yeah.
Indian Springs. So, I mean, we still got a lot of land, but I think in 20 years of continuous growth like this, then a lot of the land's going to be gone, because you got all that 215 up in North Las Vegas land over there by Nellis Air Force Base. And I don't know if that's Nellis Air Force Base land or what.
Yeah, well, and some of that land is constricted. BLM doesn't let go of some of that land until they find it prudent. Um, but nonetheless, those things are happening. And so, just speaking of how far we can sprawl, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day. If you go to Phoenix, Phoenix is like huge
Yeah.
metropolitan area, right? Like
Yeah.
huge area, and since I've been going there, I'm about to go out there and do some my tennis. I'm doing nationals in Surprise, Arizona, which I am very familiar with that area because my grandparents lived in Sun City, Arizona, and at the time it was a lot of
There was
land. I
nothing
mean,
over
just
there. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there was just a lot, and it has exploded. I mean, just like you could say Vegas has, but with just so much more acreage,
Yep.
that there's so much more that could be filled up over there. So Vegas has always had an interesting dynamic, which is that we're a valley and there's really only so much room. So I do think when you look at look at it from that perspective, that well, we might be coming upon something that could be very good for real estate, as long as we don't have a real problem with water shortage, right? I mean, that's kind of the elephant in the room there, right?
Right. Well, okay. 2 is like, if you think where Inspirata is down there, they can continue all the way down to Jean, or all the way down to Prim.
Yeah, but location
And
will always win out, and that's what I'm saying here is like,
right.
yes, you might be able to go further out and be far away, and yeah, that real estate's going to be less expensive, but to be in the heart, in the sweet spots, I mean, just look at Summerlin alone. How much more is there left to build in Summerlin?
20 years left.
There's 20 years left.
I think
I
that's
think
shortened a little with the pandemic, but per the Summerlin, it's 20 years left. They want to make it
I don't
50.
believe that at all. They said Inspirata would be a 20-year project. I think it's probably, maybe it'll be a 15-year project by the time
Yeah.
it's done. And
Well,
that
all
was
they
with
have,
a solid 8 very slow years of growth,
all they have
comparatively.
left is 5,000 acres in Summerlin. So you got all the community behind Heritage, which is, they're going to be really encroaching on Red Rock Canyon. Then you got all that back there, and then they're going to be building all the way to Lake Mead.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't see it happening in 20 years because of how fast Summerlin's
Yeah.
growing.
Maybe the last house gets built in 20 years, right? But
Right.
the majority of it, like the vast majority of it, going to be all gone well
Right.
before 20 years. That's what I believe.
So I have one point I wanted to make about buying new construction in Las Vegas. There are so many builders out there, so many communities. But the one thing to keep in mind when you're buying new construction is, if it's not in a very major master plan community, it's just a one-off little side community, think of what that community is going to look like in 5, 10, 15 years. Because we show a lot of houses, and after that community is 5 years old, it's not really well maintained. Now, in 5, 10 years in Summerlin or Seven Hills, or major master plan communities, they uphold their value and the integrity of the home.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, I tell that to people all the time, that the numbers bear out pretty good for HOAs. A lot of people don't like HOAs, but they do hold the value. And when you add the master plan portion to it, it's just it just keeps that uniformity. It keeps that look. It keeps that whole vibe going for a long
Right.
time. And when you just kind of, like what you were saying, you have just one-off shoot over here, it can be subject to who decides how the HOA gets decided to be run over time and things like that. And they might look great at first, and I have seen them go down over time and look, not so great.
Right.
It's there are those, I call them, these little pockets of goodness, where you can tell they've been able to keep something pretty special in those areas that are not in a master plan area, but a little bit more rare.
Right.
I mean, I
All
love
right.
my neighborhood, not in an HOA, but I think I'm pretty lucky, and it's a little bit of a rare
Well,
thing.
where
And
it's located, though, too.
it's great location, always, and especially because of the location, always going to have good turnover, always going to have people coming in here fixing up the homes. Every now and then you get a junker, and you just hope that that's not your neighbor. But
well, let's finish these numbers, and then
Yep.
we'll start answering some questions. Basically, 83.8% of the closings for the month of September was on the market for 30 days or less. In August, that number was 87.8%. And for September 2020, it was 69%. So, there's still movement, and, the nice homes, like we always say, are selling super fast. But I'm noticing homes staying on the market longer.
Yep, for sure. Gonna continue that way.
And price decreases.
This is as obvious as can be in my mind.
Right.
So price right, price to sell, be happy.
All right, folks. Well, it's 40 minutes in. We're going to start answering some questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to start asking them now. So let's see. Bricksky Tech says, we're visiting Las Vegas next month from Oregon, work remote, and look at different neighborhoods for potential move in the spring. Any tips? Have been to the Strip a few times. Budget is $550. You know, my favorite new area, I love the northwest side of the valley. And yes, everyone says Summerlin, Summerlin, Summerlin. And, you know, me, I'm a Summerlin expert, but I really love Skye Canyon. I love that northwest. And then another person mentioned Sunstone. I just went up to Sunstone not too long ago, and that's going to be a beautiful new master plan community.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got a budget that they're going to be able to find a nice home. Obviously, there's a few things depending if we're talking 1 story, 3-car garage, 4 bedroom,
Right.
modern and ready to roll. Then you're going to be maybe relegated to certain areas that you could possibly find that. But you have a lot of options, I think, at that price point.
Right.
Um,
But it's
and
the same old adage where everyone says Henderson, Summerlin, Henderson, Summerlin. You
mhm,
can't you can't compare the two for one. And Summerlin, there's more than just Summerlin out here in Vegas. There's so many nice master
certainly
plan communities. You have Rhodes Ranch, Southern Highlands, Mountains Edge, Providence, the
Inspirata.
list
Yep.
can go on, and Inspirata, Cadence, in Henderson.
Yep.
That's not just about Summerlin, even though I love to talk about Summerlin. It's not just about it.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Well, I like to say too, there's Summerlin without the price, which is kind of how, when I came to my neighborhood, why I moved here. I'm so happy I did. But this isn't always going to be for everybody. It's just a thought, and there are a few locations like that, and I think you're hitting on. Yeah, you can go just a little bit north, and I mean just those communities, right? Just outside of Summerlin,
Right.
those can be just, you get Summerlin without the price. I mean, it's great,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, especially
Um,
Skye Canyon, they have the beautiful community center, fitness center, pool, parks. I mean, and it's growing up there.
yeah, for sure. That's been a project going on for a little bit, so it's gonna, yeah, it's starting to take shape, starting to take hold over there. Really
Right.
beautiful when you enter right off the freeway.
Yeah. I just like the whole vibe up there, the openness and the mountains. And I just like the vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I even like Providence over there. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's you're you're not you're not short on good spots to be in Vegas. I don't think that at all.
Right. Not at all. Let's see. Yeah, this one guy said, drive around and see for yourself. You'll love Summerlin, yes, but ultimately it has to come down to what you can afford.
Yeah, well, there's intelligent ways to purchase, right? So obviously, you can, if some being in Summerlin is your thing, I actually think there's nothing wrong with that. They don't say location, location, location 3 times for nothing, right? But if you have there's always, even, and I find that even at the highest of price ranges, you're making some compromise. There is always some compromise. So, what do you have? You have family. Are the schools really important? Does that, having that larger home for that family really important? Those types of things are really going to dictate a number of, your avenues. And there are some of those things that I'm going to recognize immediately that are not compromise you cannot compromise on. You have to have these things, and I'm going to be very well aware of those. I'm sure, Angie, you would say, okay, I know these are the must-haves here. These are the fudgeable areas, and hopefully we have a package that hardly even recognizes fudgeable areas. We just nail it, and it doesn't look
Right.
like we had to compromise on anything. But there almost always is. And it's just a matter of, yeah, I think it's a good idea to come into town, see some areas. Like prior to, I know you've talked to me about this, prior to the crazy times that we've had, we might have been happy to show people around town a little bit and just kind of, hey, here's where now you're so busy that it's like, you know what? Okay, come into town. Let me tell you some areas to go to and swing by and get your feel for them, and then let me know what you're liking, and then now we can start to put the pieces together, right?
I am so glad that you brought that up
Yeah.
because, as much as I would love to tour and show you guys the whole valley and the neighborhood and the difference of this and that, unfortunately, I'm booked out every day, 7 days a week. And I don't have time to just be tour guide, unfortunately. I am
Yeah.
getting a showing assistant soon, but still, they don't have time to be showing just to show the neighborhoods. You guys are going to have to come meet and greet. Then I'll give you the lay of the land for you guys to tour yourself and get a feel on yourself.
Yep. Yeah, unless you're ready to pull the trigger and then it's off and running, of course.
Right.
But there's uh, a lot of value that you can get in. Sometimes I say make sure to drive by at night too. I mean, people don't think about that. I think for the most part, there might be some areas that you could say you don't have to do that. That's going to be what you see is what you see. But there might be an area or two. Hey, check out what it's like at night, right?
Yeah. And I always suggest to go to crimemaps.com and
Yep.
greatschools.com to check out the schools in that neighborhood before you commit. And another thing to think about is Las Vegas has awesome magnet schools,
Mm-hmm.
lots of
Magnet
magnet
and
schools.
private schools.
Yep.
Yep.
So, if you like the neighborhood, then maybe, send them to a magnet school or a charter school or a private school in lieu of, because the schools aren't good in that community.
Boy, that has been extremely popular, and this is a prediction I'm willing to make. That is only going to get more popular. To be looking at that, the schools are a big thing for people right now.
Oh yeah, so that's why this person had said, so many questions are coming in.
Good.
Joe G. Hey, Joe G. That's my client. To say that there's great places around Summerlin is true, but the schools tank. For us, schools are a huge thing because CCSD is ranked the lowest in the nation. And yes, and we're aware of that. And the schools in Summerlin tend to rank higher in niche.com or greatschools.com than anywhere in the valley, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
At what point will the upcoming eviction unfreeze start to affect prices?
It's a bit of an interesting question, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know that we're going to see. It's going to be a combination of things along with the possibility of those potential listings coming on the market. Now, what you and I have been saying is, hey, don't even get to the point where you become a distressed sale. Sell. You've got equity. There's no reason, if you're in a pinch and you're not able to afford your mortgage, sell, get your money out of the property. Do it as soon as possible, because otherwise you might be in a logjam with other people doing that. But I do think that logjam is not really going to exist unless it's existing with other things happening at the same time, not just foreclosures, because I think that they're going to dole those things out and sort of let those people slowly filter into the market, and some of those people are not going to be in a position where they're bad off anymore. They're going to be able to get caught up. This was the whole point of that. They're going to be able to get back on track and get rolling. I think that's what I've seen. The numbers, I haven't seen them lately, so got to see what the new numbers are for the percentage of people that are in these distressed situations. But right now, it's a non-factor in my mind right now.
It's going to be a long time, because a lot of these people that are in forbearance or were in forbearance are waiting to go into loan modification, and the lenders are so backed up, or the mortgage providers are so backed up, that some of them are selling, to other providers, or selling the loan out, and then that new company has to make a decision on the loan modification. So it's going to be a while.
So I've seen this game played. This was happening to some degree in the short sale time, pretty heavily. What you're talking about, when they're selling the note behind, and it's changing servicers, and there's a bunch of juxtaposition happening when it comes to the mortgage servicing areas, and they are definitely setting up their soldiers to be able to dole this out properly. Some of that delay that you're talking about, they're so backed up, is very purposeful. Okay, they'd rather that they can delay this and dole it out than have everything hit home all at once, because they have an investment in that value just like everybody else does.
Right. All right, let's go to the next question. My wife and I looked at Summerlin new construction. Some builders are holding lottery, or others are making you bid on the lot premiums. You don't know what others are bidding. Yeah, that was the case
That was,
back, but not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how strategy would you use to approach this? 6 to 8 months ago, they would at least tell you the lot premium versus a bidding system. To be honest with you, I sell a lot of new construction in Summerlin, and I haven't seen it in a long time, the bidding of the lot premiums. Unless it's like a super high demand lot, but even that, they're still for sale. That's not selling like hotcakes like it was.
There are some lotteries still going on in certain,
But that's
most,
KB,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's in the lower priced homes.
Some
Not
of those,
Summerlin.
but yeah, none of the, and they're pretty fair how they're dealing with it for the most part. You're not just ending up with this, oh, now you won the lottery, now you got to bid on your lot premium. What? You know, so
Right.
yeah.
And is there a way, hold on, a way to find out what others in the community paid for their lot premiums within the last 6 to 12 months? Oh,
That's a good question.
I
I
don't
don't,
think so,
I don't think you can.
because you wouldn't know how much they put in upgrades either. I mean, the total purchase price will be in the tax record, but you don't know if that's lot premium or upgrades.
Yeah,
Nope. That's a good question.
that's builder info, and I wonder how you get a hold of that. It's not going to matter much now.
Hey, Joe G. I'm reading his comment. He is buying in Cadence, Richmond American Home. When we moved, looking at public schools in Clark looked pretty poor until you look at a charter school. So that's good advice. If you're thinking charter or magnet schools, know that most of them are lottery based and not based on where you live. That was a shock to us. Well, the thing with the magnet schools, because my son went to a magnet school for high school, and it's not just a lottery system. Your kids still have to have good grades and have good attendance in order to even qualify into that lottery system.
Yeah. Well, a number of these private schools as well. I know that they only have so much enrollment.
Right.
So that's another, I guess that's a thing.
It's good to know that there is alternative, and to make sure your kids do have good grades and don't miss school.
Yeah.
Because yeah, my son got his first choice when he picked his magnet school. Let's see what else. Yes, need to get on the list, but they move fast. At least Pinterest, yes, need to get on the list. Okay, so that's it. Any more questions, folks? I think I missed one. Mr. Chris, he can't wait for the Lennar at Sunstone to be open. Hey, Chris, did you check out the one, the 55 plus trilogy one? That is like phenomenal. That's like, I'm going to be really seriously selling in there. I think it's going to look very nice, that new Sunstone community. I can't wait for it to finally be open. Have you been up there, Chris, to see what it looks like for Lennar? Anyways, let's see. Any answers? Do you see Skye Canyon or the Southwest appreciating more in the future?
I mean, generally
Certain
speaking,
neighborhoods.
yeah. Generally speaking, yes. And I mean, this goes back to how far in the future are we talking? Because I see everything doing well as long term, but that's 10, 15 year in my mind. We could be set for a little bit of a, yeah, I wouldn't call it a roller coaster. I hope we're not on a roller coaster, but just, some movements, some a little bit back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, Skye Canyon, I'm noticing the prices used to be a little affordable, but those are gone up. Of course, everything has gone up. But as to which one would appreciate more, I mean, everything appreciates. It's just depending on certain parts of the valley appreciates more than others.
Yeah, that's the old 3 times. They don't say 3 times for nothing, right? So,
So Chris, you know what? To live in Sunstone Trilogy, did you know this, Rob? They have the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the residents have to be 55 plus or older. The remaining have to be 19 or older. So since you're 41, you can still live in there. And it's an awesome community. They're going to have a coffee shop, coffee bar, a restaurant, a culinary studio, bocce courts, pickle courts, fitness facility. I mean, it's going to be an awesome retirement community.
well, I mean, even the fact that you can have more than retirees in there too, is cool. I think that there could be something, I do see some openings for sort of lifestyles as we have changed, meaning that having a lot of things in very close proximity to your home that you don't really leave your community very often. A lot of different developers have had these ideas through the years, and like having the city center idea or whatever. And in larger metropolitan areas, it has taken hold, of course, but here it hasn't quite gotten there. But I do see that happening, and I see what you're talking about there is as that, and certainly for retirees, but even maybe communities that would be for everybody that works from home, and like, I want to go play whatever, play pickleball, and I want to go to the bar, I want to go to the coffee bar, and I'll just go
Well,
walk
those
around the
type
corner.
of communities are quite popular. I get a lot of clients from Chicago, and they want that walkability where they can
Mhm.
walk to the restaurants, they can walk to the bars and then have a few drinks and not have to worry about driving home. We
Yep.
don't have that really. Summerlin supposedly is going to be building it over in Red Point Square Village.
Mhm.
But we don't, I mean, you have some in Summerlin, but again, most of those homes are older. So it would be nice to have a couple master plan communities that just revolve around an old town feel like.
Yep. I see that as a big deal. Some people have moved to a little place called Boulder City just for that reason right there.
Well, I think we should develop our own little master plan community and think of that.
There you go.
Well, I noticed when you go into Inspirada, have you been down there lately?
Uh-huh.
Like there's this one little point where it wedges out and there's like these little shops.
Shops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's neat.
They need it over there. They're a little anemic on commercial. I think they could do in particular in Sparata, they could have this kind of thing that would be very popular there. But I'm speaking on a little higher level than just throwing up a few commercial,
No, I
you
get
know,
it. I
buildings
think
there.
these developers like Summerlin, especially when they started developing the west side, I
Mhm.
think it was just too much real estate. They needed to really hone in on the commercial side of it and make it more of a, just like the Trails Center over there in Summerlin North.
Yep.
That's perfect.
That's cool. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean,
There's a
it's
bar,
still.
there's restaurants, there's coffee.
Yeah, it's just still, it's not that what we're exactly talking about. It was built in the 90s over there, and it doesn't have that walkability. It's still a drive up kind of thing.
But it has
Um,
more walkability than the rest of Summerlin.
certainly, certainly. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't. It just doesn't have that feel.
Right.
And I am envisioning places having that. I think that would be a real attraction for
Right.
people.
Right. All right, folks. Well, it's been almost an hour. We had a lot of views, lots of great questions before we go. Okay, we got one more question. Do you guys notice a ton of California buyers? Are they paying cash? If so, we lost a lot of offers to cash buyers. Is this still common?
Um, Sometimes, I mean, certainly they're there. The California buyer period is there.
I would say, probably 75% of my clients are cash buyers.
Wow.
Yeah. But they're selling their house in California and making buku bucks and coming here and buying their home.
Yeah. Well, that has been the driver for our market for sure.
Yep. All right. One last question. What's up with Chicago? I get so many Chicagoans, so many people from Chicago wanting to relocate here.
Yeah.
This Air Jordan, 23, Chicago Bulls probably, right? But anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging in there. We really appreciate your feedback. We love your interaction. We love when you ask questions. Let us know in the comments what you think of our market updates, if we need to improve on anything, right?
Yeah.
Did you check
Where
out
do
a
we
while
suck?
ago?
We want to be less sucky.
Yeah, we're not getting as many views as we used to. So come on, start watching my channel. No, just kidding.
View
Subscribe,
us.
like, what?
View us. What are you doing?
Views. We had a question on any tips of beating cash buyers. Unfortunately, it's been a little too long. I got to go write some offers right now anyway. But Craig, if you want to learn any tips, give me a call. you know the number. It's down in the description below. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. And what do we say, Rob?
Well, thanks for watching. Rock on.
And do it peacefully.
We'll see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Dun, 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 dun.